Hi, everybody. This is Tanya from Tango Business Coaching, and welcome to our second video of this particular series on becoming a drama-free leader. So this is coming because I speak to many leaders who are clients of mine who want to talk to me about some particular situation that they've just gone through with an employee or, a peer on some level of drama that they got sucked into. So some story or, really something that had nothing to do with them that they got sucked into. And then we wind up talking about it in a coaching session because they still feel the negative emotion inside of them. And it wasn't even their story to have negative emotion about. So when I ask people about why they get into these conversations, I hear a pretty common response, which is, well, they were going through something hard and that person just really needed to vent and I wanted to be there for them. They needed to vent. So that is very common, an answer that, I've heard for years and have felt it myself, by the way, for years being in a leadership position. So it is a really noble thing to do because people do get caught up in situations and they do need to talk about it and they do need somebody to talk to about it, right? But if this continues to happen on a regular basis and you as the leader continue to engage in these conversations, you wind up becoming the zone for a whole bunch of emotional dumping. And sometimes venting can turn into gossiping, which of course can become really dangerous. Even if you as the leader are not engaging in the conversation, just being part of it, you can be complicit in, that kind of behavior. So definitely want to stay away from the gossiping side of things. And we really want to help people who are going through some sort of, negative emotional situation. We want to help them through that. But we want to do it in a way that we're sort of walking beside it, not getting sucked into it, right? So you don't want to get caught sucked into, at one point, I think it was a coach that I had called it like walking the tornado. So if the tornado is going on and on and on beside you, you don't want to get sucked into it, but you want to find a way of walking beside it and, guiding them through whatever venting storm that they're caught up in. So here are some ideas that I have around that. So when somebody comes to you with an emotional problem or story or some situation that they've just gone through where they are emotionally charged, um, negatively emotionally charged, then I would start with giving them time, give them the time to tell their story and to, vent, but put a boundary on that time. So depending on the situation and how emotionally charged a person is, will really depend on how much time you give them. But, say you give them, 10 or 15 minutes. And if it's a really, really highly charged situation, you might want to give them up to 30. But the point is you put an end time on it, right? And the conversation might go something like this. I can see that you are really upset about this situation and you need to talk about it. And I really want to give you the space to be able to do that. And I also want to ensure that you get to a place of feeling better by the end of this conversation and not get more emotionally charged by it. So, in order to do that, I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes or whatever it will be. And then after that period of time, we can talk about what needs to happen next. So, that's an example of how you can have that conversation, right? So you're being empathetic, you're understanding that they have these negative emotions, you're allowing them the time to have the space, and you're actually forcing them to be succinct and tell their story in a really easy way rather than going on and ruminating and going down this downward slide of, this vicious cycle of negative emotion, right? Because so many times people get so wrapped up in telling the story that they keep going and going and going and going, right? Repeating themselves. So once you've given them the time limit, then you listen. And that's it. You don't need to engage in any way. You don't need to ask any kind of clarifying questions. You don't need to do it. If it's truly a venting situation and they're not coming to you to help them solve a problem, and they really just need the time and space to say what they need to say to get it off their chest, then all you need to do is listen. You don't need to nod. You don't need to say, yeah, I get that. I understand. You don't need to do any of that. You don't want to even acknowledge that you're in agreement, because you might not be, you're just giving them space to talk. So you allow them to do that. And then you know, once it's over, either they're going to finish before the timer ends or that timer is going to go off. And at that point in time, whenever it ends, you ask them this one question: what do you need to do right now? Or what do you need to do next? Now, they may come back to you and say, you know what? I feel better. I've said my piece. I actually don't need to do anything. That's cool. You don't have to help them do that, right? Or they may say, I need to go have a conversation with so and so, or, I need to go think on this, or I need to, whatever it is that they need to do as a result of that. You can either help them clarify what their next steps are, or as the leader, if there is something in this story where you need to intervene in some way, then you can decide at that point how you need to intervene. But the point is that you just don't get sucked into the story. You can listen, you can empathize with their emotions that they're going through. You do not need to get engaged in that story at all. So that's it. That's today's tip about not getting sucked into those venting, gossiping drama stories. In our next video, we're going to talk about how to not take things personally. So stay tuned for that one. And in the meantime, have a really awesome day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.